After this video, you will understand why you keep overthinking every single step in your business, what it's truly costing you, what antidotes you have available for all of the small things that keep happening, and you also have one clear, simple to follow framework that you can use in the moment to get out of it and move forward. So if we haven't met before, by the way, my name is Evelyn Weiss. I've generated over 8 million online, and I just love helping people monetize their personal growth journey and get better at managing themselves and guiding themselves along the way. Now, you loved my video about the faith framework, and because overthinking is a topic that so many of my thousands of members are struggling with, I thought that this video would be the best next helpful thing that I can teach you. All right, so let's start by looking at what it's truly costing you. But what does your business look like? And we're going to look at externally, so how do others perceive you and your brand? Internally, how it feels, operationally, so what's going on in your business, and then also financially. So let's look at external, how your overthinking is showing up to others. You have inconsistent output. Your content, offers, and launches, they come out sporadically or not at all because everything is being worked on. You have stuff that is polished, it's gorgeous, it's professional, and scarce. So when things do come out, they're very safe, very polished, and often you are late to market. So you're never kind of the first mover and you can never capitalize on a trend. You have energy of hesitation. So your clients and followers and team members, they can feel your uncertainty. Your messaging often sounds cautious or caveated, or it's just overly complicated. And then you miss a lot of momentum. Your opportunities like trends and partnerships and offers that you can make, they pass because your decisions are just taking too long. This is what others see. Now, how does it feel for you as the business owner? You have paralysis disguised as productivity. So you have hours of tweaking and planning and researching and learning and preparing. You constantly second guess yourself. Every choice from your pricing to your logo to your brand colors feels like a life or death decision. You are exhausted with the progress. You keep mentally spinning and you feel like you've really exhausted and burned out yourself, and like you have done so much with so little to show for. And that puts you in a shame spiral. You keep telling yourself, because you have done so much but so little to show for, I should be further along. And that's just reinforcing the overthinking and the delaying because it doubles down on the second guessing. Operationally, what are the mechanics of a business looking like where the owner is an overthinker? We have a very overbuilt backend, right? So you have endless planning documents, strategies, frameworks, but very few of them are actually running. You have an underdeveloped front end, so you have very little testing in the actual market. Your offers don't get validated because they often either stay in draft mode or you've just showed them to too few people. You think that your offers were not successful, but the truth is that they never were truly tested and validated and proven as good or off market fit in the actual market. So you keep creating new stuff because you think that the offer didn't work, but you just didn't get it in front of people at all. You have very slow cycles. So decisions take weeks instead of hours. Feedback loops are stretched very, very long. And that means that your learning is delayed. And you also have fragile growth. So every step feels a bit brittle because it hasn't been pressure tested in reality. It's all hypothesis, and you keep working in that safe zone. You keep doing things that nobody can actually really judge. Financially, what it looks like is you have low revenue flow because you don't get to market often. You have high sunk cost, a lot of courses, a lot of tools, a lot of coaching consumed, but very, very little ROI to show for it. You missed compounding, so you don't take those small daily actions towards your goal. And you have the scarcity loop. So you have a lack of results that reinforces your fear, which makes you overthink even more. It's like this downward spiral. You operate in this silo and you do so much, but you get so little for it. So why do people overthink every step in their business? The categories that I find are showing up is psychological fears, identity entanglements, cognitive overload, and then perfectionism and skill gaps and structural gaps, right? And most of us have things that they can improve in each of those areas. So let's talk about what is happening and what we can do about it right away, right? So I want to give you the challenge, but also right away I want to give you the antidote. Psychological fears. If I get it wrong, I'll lose everything. The solution is to reframe failure as data. And if you've been in my world for any time, you know that I constantly do this. Use small bets, low-stake experiments to normalize iterative learning. When I launch a new campaign, when I launch a new ad, I believe it will fail. That's my hypothesis, because I know that my goal is to test as much as I can. So within that haystack of failures, I find that one needle of an ad that will allow me to scale to the next level in my business. So I expect to fail a lot, and I'm reframing it as a good thing because every failed test is bringing me closer to the reality of the successful one. Fear of judgment. Everyone will think I'm a fraud, or everyone will think this or that about me. The solution is to define your audience of one, right? So there's two ways in which you can think about this. Most people like to think about like their ideal client, their person that they want to do it for. I like to be a little bit more selfish. I like to think about my audience of one as in doing this for me. I do this for all the versions of myself. I do this for the past version of myself that needed to have the solutions that the current version of myself either has created or is creating. I do it for the current version of myself because I need to show up for that version to be able to do the thing. And I also do it for that future version of myself that is looking back and saying, thank you for putting in all of that effort. With that, you helped me become the person that I am today, having the assets and having the things that I have right now. So the only judges that I allow in myself is past, present, future self of mine. And I use myself as my only audience, my only guideline. The only person I will answer to is the person in the mirror. So I'm focused on having this audience of one. You can of course do it for that ideal client, etc. of yours. I find that at the end of the day, because we all ultimately are trying to self-actualize, you really want to be your own audience and you want to only have to justify what you're doing in front of yourself. Fear of success. If it works, I won't be able to handle the pressure. So the solution here is to visualize sustainable success instead of catastrophic success. You want to know that you're building capacity gradually. So I've been afraid for years to jump into high ticket, and I only started my mastermind because I got selected for Alex Hormozi's 100, and I said that I will be extremely coachable. I have not bought a lot of offers before, and basically I was burned by a couple high ticket offers. The best offer I ever bought was Cat House Facebook Ads that Convert membership, and so I did not invest like massively into coaching to get to that point where I am in my business. And when I got that opportunity to be coached, I was like, I will do everything that they say, even if I don't feel ready for it. And I definitely didn't feel ready for a mastermind, and I did hold back selling also quite a bit because I was like, I will not be able to handle more. And then I kind of threw myself in with the maximum that I could handle. And eventually I made all of the mistakes that you can possibly make when you do this for the first time. So I basically made it like a glorified one-to-one, etc. But here's the thing. Even if the worst case happen and you get completely overwhelmed, you will find your way out of it. But then at least you are working with real people on real things. And I want to say that I was mindful enough to say I won't only want to push to a point where I can handle it, because I don't want to and I was extremely mindful with how I sold things. So I didn't make any promises where I was like, I don't think I will able to keep them. And when I needed to make changes, I would communicate it early and transparently, and also say, if that's not for you, you can get a refund, right? But my point here is that you will only be able to expand your capacity and solve your fear of success if you actually expose yourself to it. And you want to trust in yourself to be able to find a fair solution. And you want to think about how can I be mindful along the way. But you need that real life experience of success to be able to expand to your next capacity possible. Fear of rejection. What if nobody wants what I create? The solution is to, again, just run micro tests. Treat rejection as market feedback, just like you treat failure as market feedback. Make rejection the norm, not the thing you're afraid of. It's like, I expect to be rejected. That's my default. Next up, we have identity entanglement. This is when your self-worth fuses with your business outcomes. So for example, if this flops, I am a flop. The solution here is to separate your identity from your role in your business. What I like to do here is I like to journal and I like to reflect upon how I am the builder of the business, but how I am not the business, and how I am intrinsically and inherently valuable, and how my success and what I'm doing here is just my unfolding and becoming, and that these challenges that are there, they're what's actually worth for me pursuing, not the outcome. The outcome will never define me. Imposter syndrome, I don't really belong here. The solution is to normalize earning authority by doing, right? So this is such a big one. And also why I love, for example, building in communities and documenting my personal growth journey. I don't want to present as somebody who has it all figured out. You just heard me confessing my struggles with my mastermind. I find that the more realistic and open and transparent and honest I am about where I am in the journey, the more I attract the people that are the right clients for me right now, because they can assess if I am in fact a step ahead of them or not. But it's all happening ethically, and it takes off that pressure from me, because what I say is, I don't know, but I want to help you figure it out, or here's what I'm doing. And I think normalizing that we are building authority by doing, and we don't have to have authority to be all that. It's like there's always, if we take action consistently, there's always a person that has not taken that step that we just took, that we can transparently help with them. So that doesn't mean, I'm not a fan of this, like you just have to be one step ahead, you just have to have read the next chapter. I don't believe in that, because I think if you're wearing a mask, eventually it becomes exhausting and it eventually will fall off. But there are people that are completely okay with you just having solved that next piece, or they just want to figure things out with you. So transparency and normalizing becoming by doing is the answer here. People pleasing, I have to make sure everyone approves of what I do. The solution here is to define your role model self aligned with your inner compass and use that as a filter for external validation. That goes back to the point that I made before about the fear of being judged. I am the audience. I am the only person I need to report to, and maybe our higher powers. Those are this is where I need to report to, but I do not need to please anyone else. Over responsibility, if it fails, I let others down. So you want to clarify shared ownership. Set realistic promises and communicate clearly. The responsibility is not your sole burden. Often we think, like, even when I had a team, I was like, oh, I need to be able to make this business work so I can pay the team. So I try to shield the team instead of saying, look, for us to make this work, for you to keep being a part of the team, I am trying this and I need your contribution. It wasn't even an option in my mind to call people to responsibility, which is crazy because it should be a shared effort. And the same goes for a mentor and mentee relationship. So it's like, it's not my sole responsibility to, as your mentor, to get you to that point. Like, obviously you also have to do some work, but when we're not clear and explicit about this, it becomes these hidden contracts that weigh so heavy on us and that just make us take this over responsibility that's not ours. Third one is cognitive overload. This is something I see increasingly with all of this amazing free information out there. We consume endless advice, and what it does is it just makes us overwhelmed, because it's like, this person I admire says this person who's done what I want to do has done that, so which one is true? What I find really helpful is to limit information. When I need to get stuff done, I will not consume content. I will make a hypothesis of how I get things done. And when I'm at a point where I'm like, to get this next step done, I need information, I will hunt for that specific piece of information. I will not consume content when I am in a I want to get towards things mode, because I'm not looking for inspiration right now. I'm not looking for a shiny object right now, so I will not expose myself to it. No clear priorities. Everything feels urgent, right? So the solution here is to just have a priority setting system. And what I've done since the beginning of my online business, since things really started to work, is I use the Eisenhower matrix, and I would just brain dump everything I think I need to do. And then from that highest version of myself, I would prioritize into urgent and important, need to get it done, urgent, not important, need to schedule it. Not urgent, not important, need to not do it at all. Urgent, but not important, I need to delegate it or I need to renegotiate. You just need to have a prioritization tool you use on a daily basis. If not, how are you managing yourself? You don't, right? So I made this eventually into a product that we successfully pre-sold and just got into the hands of over 500 people. You need a tool like that. And you don't need to buy my tool. You can just do it digitally. You can put it on a piece of paper like, start to write things down, okay? And do something with your decision. So use decision matrix, have a framework for setting priorities, right? There's tools out there that you can use. Fragmented strategies, you're jumping between tactics. The solution is to anchor to one clear business model and follow through with it. If you don't know how to do that and stick with one thing long enough, then you need to check out my Faith Framework video. Decision fatigue, too many micro choices. So what you want to do is you want to have pre-decide routines. So you want to have content days, ad days, feedback days. So try to cluster those things and also make if-then rules for yourself. So for example, if I am feeling bad about my business, I will not consume content about it, right? Because I know it makes me buy a shiny object. So make pre-decisions for yourself. Or if it's Tuesday, I will make content. If it is, then I will do that. So think about what is the business model you want to do, what's your hypothesis of getting there, and then pre-make choices that you reliably stick to. Number 4, perfectionism and control. So perfectionism is when nothing feels good enough. The solution is to adopt 80% and shipped. I started doing this a lot. So what helps me with perfectionism is to pre-commit as well. So I like to pre-sell things. I like to put things on the calendar. So I have this natural deadline where I cannot make things better because they have to be done at that deadline. I'm really good under pressure. You have to know about yourself if that's true for you as well. Some people completely crack under pressure. If you completely crack under pressure, then I want you to sit down and say, what does the 80% version of this look like? And make a little contract with yourself. You can have ChatGPT helping you sign it and be like, if it is at that stage, I will ship it. Not because I don't care about the content quality or the output quality I produce, but because I care about it so much that I want to put the finishing touches with help of real people with real life feedback, because I know that only then I can make it really, really valuable. Another form of perfectionism is seeking control. So you try to eliminate risk. Solution is to create bounded risk zones. So for example, set budget or testing limits for failure, right? So if you want to avoid risk, you want to say, okay, what is my window of tolerance for taking risk? And then I want to commit to this, right? So for example, let's say you procrastinate on creating organic content because you're like, well, what if nobody cares, etc. Set a risk bucket for yourself. Say, I can commit to 30 days of creating one reel a day and then assessing at the end, this is the time I'm willing to lose, right? Or I want to test ads. What is my budget that I want to put? And then when I put this budget, what will I do to actually make sure that I've leveraged it well? How will I look at the data? How will I process this? And reduce the perceived risk by setting a corridor for yourself, as in, what is the expectation if I'm taking this risk for myself? Then over planning, right? So you get stuck in prep. It's perfectionism and control based. So what you want to do is use the 1-1 rule. For every hour you're planning, take an hour of action, right? So it's like, okay, I plan my content for an hour, which means I will record content for an hour, or I will produce and post content for an hour. Limit your planning time. I know it feels productive, but it ultimately keeps you stuck. So have this balance. And this is also why I love to time track. Right? Where are you spending most of your time? Every hour of planning, every hour of content consumption needs to be met with an hour of taking action that manifests a change in the real world. Rigid standards is another one in perfectionism and control. You won't experiment unless the outcomes are guaranteed. We want to redefine our standards around learning velocity instead of flawless results. Measure how quickly you can test and adjust, right? So the best thing is to get data. The only thing I actually care about is having that feedback. If you're struggling with this, I also think that the Faith framework will work really well for you to help you with this. Last but not least, we have skill and structural gaps. You have lack of embodied reps. So every action feels monumental. For example, when you create your first ad, it will probably, if it's an image ad, it will take you an hour or two to create it. If it's a video ad, it will probably take you hours to create it, and it will suck, right? And because you don't do it often, it will feel like this huge effort, and you feel like, oh, every time I do this, it is so intense, right? So the solution is to commit to daily reps, one ad a day, right? One post a day, one email a day, one outreach a day. Probably should be more than that, but you want to normalize small, frequent steps. You want to understand that the magnitude of the effort decreases with the time that you're doing it. It eventually becomes effortless. No feedback loop, so your action floats in a vacuum. The solution is here to shorten cycle times. Give feedback in 24 to 48 hour formats from the market, from clients, from your peers to reduce uncertainty. That one is huge for me, and I learned that from advertisement. You want to have, when you outbalance your how much time you spend contemplating and planning and researching and learning, when you outbalance that with I have to take the same amount of time action, pair the action with feedback. If you create something, post it, publish the ad, share it with your peers, outreach to someone, so you have that real world feedback. And you want to have the feedback loop as short as possible, ideally every 24 to 48 hours. That's also the cycle, for example, in which I look at ads. So you want to shorten that feedback cycle, and you want to demand it from yourself to say, part of my work is not only to do this, but also to take action and to have a really, really quick feedback loop. You have a low tolerance for failure, so every mistake feels catastrophic, right? The solution here is to, again, redefine failure as tuition, log a failure bank, and extract the lessons and value explicitly. I love to turn my failures into pieces of content and training and products and worksheets and cheat sheets and workshops, because I know that the failures are actually where the learnings are and where the goal is. In a very real sense, the problem becomes the solution. I love when I fail because it gives me the ammunition for my offers, for my marketing, for my content. And you want to increase your tolerance for failure. And again, I like to come from a place of failure is the norm. Failure is the baseline, right? And I embrace it because it's the data that I need. It's the ammunition that I need. Missing systems and processes, so every step is reinvented. That one is big. So instead of doing that, you want to start to document as you go. I have my daily documentation. I record looms every single day. I have a huge arsenal of data that I have. And after I do a task, I will typically templatize it. And the good thing is I'm getting paid for it because I do this for people, but it also helps me to do everything faster. When I test a bunch of ads and then I have a few winners, I look at that and I'm like, okay, what's the template for a winner? Well, let me make more of that, right? So instead of reinventing every step, you want to create these frameworks for yourself so it becomes easier and easier and easier every single time. Those are all of the things that could be underlying your overthinking and the micro solutions for it. Now, that probably feels really, really overwhelming. The key is you can always come back to this video, but you also want to have something you can do in the moment. What you can do in the moment is my clear framework, okay? So it starts with C, catch the fear. Ask yourself, what fear is underneath my overthinking right now? Is it failure, judgment, rejection, sunk cost? What am I afraid of that keeps me thinking about this? Naming the fear takes away its power and you catch yourself in a moment. L, loosen your identity, right? So it's like shake it out. Am I making this about my self-worth? Am I making this about me rather than about the business? So you want to reframe and say, I'm the builder, not the business. It's not about me. It's about the business and it's about moving things forward. So take yourself and your ego out of the equation. E, eliminate the noise, right? So ask yourself, what's the priority here, right? So what do I try to achieve? What needs to happen? And erase all of the other noise. Like, what is the priority here right now? What do I need to do? Very likely it's action and gather feedback, right? So what do I need to action right now? And where do I get feedback within the next 24 to 48 hours? A, act imperfectly, right? So what's the 80% version of the thing I need to do that I can ship within the next day, right? So what's one thing I can do and ship to the market, post on social media, show to peers, reach out to someone so I can get that feedback, right? And then R, run and repeat. Gather that feedback, go back to the drawing board, refine that one thing that you have in front of yourself right now. So whenever you find yourself caught in overthinking in your business, run the clear framework and focus on taking that action and getting into that feedback loop and getting things done. You'll have more momentum if you do this within the next week than you've had all year in your business. I deeply, deeply believe in that. I hope you found this helpful, and if you are into content like this, check out the Faith Framework, and if you like super practical step-by-step tutorials, then check out one of my school tutorials, probably the retargeting one. All right, I see you there. Bye.